for joining my podcast. I want to talk a little bit about Alzheimer's disease today. There is this unknown fear about the disease. In fact, I was talking to someone and they came up to me and said, my mom has dementia, my mom doesn't have Alzheimer's. And it was very important for her. It was very important for this individual to come in terms with her own perception of that it's okay to have dementia but not Alzheimer's. She told me, my mom has dementia, doesn't have Alzheimer's. So I'm okay with that. I'm blessed, she said. It could be worse. Thank God she doesn't have Alzheimer's. I didn't know what to tell her, how to respond to her. And very politely, my response was, Mrs. So-and-so, did you know that Alzheimer's is one type of dementia? It's the most common form of dementia. And I think there's this feeling that Alzheimer's is a bad disease. It's a very dangerous disease, whereas dementia is not. And I just want to clear that misunderstanding. Alzheimer's is a form of dementia, and Alzheimer's is the most common form of dementia. Alzheimer's is more prevalent than other types of dementia. There have been studies that indicates that before one is diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, there's a very good chance that they had the disease for close to 15 to 20 years. That's what the literature suggests. A couple of days ago, I stumbled upon another literature that talked about Alzheimer's disease could be a lifelong disease. What it means is there's a good chance that someone who is 20 years old, 30 years old, 40 years old would have the disease but would never manifest the symptoms. Well, if that's the case, folks, and if that's true, we gotta do something about the disease. If that's true, there's a very good chance that some of you and possibly me could have the disease, still could be living with the disease without manifesting any signs and symptoms. It's very important for us to understand what the disease is all about. There's also this fear about, well, my dad had Alzheimer's, there's a good chance that I would. It's hereditary. There's definitely a genetic predisposition to the disease. However, the familial onset of the disease is less than 5%. Less than 5%. Most of the common causes of Alzheimer's disease is sporadic. And usually, even in the familial onset, you would see that when one has a disease, it's usually an early onset. When I say early onset, I'm suggesting maybe 40, 45 years of age. So there's a lot of misconception about the disease, and there's a lot of fear about the disease. We cannot live with fear. When you live with fear, when one lives with fear, it disables us to embrace and to do the needful. It prevents us from dealing with the disease to some extent. So it's very important for us to understand what Alzheimer's disease is all about. It's the most common form of dementia, and it's very sporadic. Now there is literature that shows that the disease can be prevented to some extent, and there are ways and things that we could do if we have the disease to stay functional. There is also literature suggesting that the risk of Alzheimer's goes down significantly with people who have education. The higher educated you are, the higher educated one is, the risk of having Alzheimer's disease goes down. That's very interesting. That's very, very interesting. In my previous podcast, I mentioned about how powerful our human brain is. And one of the things I would like to suggest is our brain is not a hard-wired computer. It's not. It's plastic. The brain functions could be influenced through learning. Very important to understand, and I think that's why there is literature out there that suggests that education plays a significant role in risk of developing Alzheimer's disease.